Fantastic.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, so morning everyone. Anne and myself are going to be sharing just our story with you guys this morning. So the title of our presentation is Rapid Skills Development in Response to ERT and How to Prepare Academics for Post-Pandemic University. So I'm Nikki Williamson. I'm an instructional designer and training facilitator with Eiffelcorp. I have an amazing job. So not only do I get to work one-on-one with lecturers from different higher education institutions with a variety of different disciplines, both public and the private sector, I've also been fortunate enough to be involved in the development and facilitation of the digital training teaching expert series with my colleagues at Eiffelcorp. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that series, and I'm going to hand over to Anne, who's going to share her experience as both the coordinator from NMU for her group, as well as being an actual participant of that course. So the series really was developed after we recognized there was a need for to develop digital skills with amongst teaching professionals that goes beyond just that application of technology. The series was developed before the pandemic, before ERTL and pivot were, these words were just thrown around casually. And this year we've really had the great experience of working closely with Anne and her team. So Anne is in charge of the academic induction program at NMU. So basically each newly appointed lecturer at NMU, whether they are a very experienced lecturer or whether they are brand new young academic, are encouraged to attend DTX as part of the induction at NMU. So we've trained 7 groups at NMU, like I said, of which Anne was one of those delegates. So just to share, if there's people from NMU on the call, you might recognize your face there in those images. So basically the series consists of 3 weeks. So week 1 is the essentials week. So it covers those fundamental digital teaching and learning theory, as well as some practical components. Week 2 is that very practical week. It's called the Practical Digital Teacher, where we spend a lot of time working within the different LMSs. And then the 3rd week is the exemplary week. So that DTX week 2, which is that 3rd week, we actually recommend that the lecturers have at least 6 months gap between completing those first 2 weeks, week 1, the essentials and PDT, it's basically a semester. So where they're going to actually have time to implement those skills and knowledge that they've learned within those first 2 weeks into their courses before they come through and do that final week of that exemplary. And obviously we'll cover those exemplary topics. So the way that we offer the course, and I think this is really beneficial, is that we offer it fully online. So the lecturers will have access to the course site that's going to have the learning material and activities. It consists of both synchronous and asynchronous sessions where the lecturers must complete learning activities. They have to prepare activities for the next day's synchronous sessions. And it really offers the lecturer the opportunity to embrace being the role of the student in an online environment. So some of these lecturers haven't really ever participated in a fully online course before. They might have done a couple of MOOCs, but they've never really experienced a MOOC as a learner. So they really get to experience the different expectations, distractions, the engagement opportunities, the pressures, as their students would. So we found this really beneficial because the insight that they gain from participating in this fully online course really assists them when they're going to be designing their own blended or fully online modules. Okay, so the topics and principles covered in the training really are then reinforced and integrated through those synchronous and asynchronous sessions with a strong focus on collaborative learning and community development. I previously worked in higher ed at one institution for 15 years, and I know how easy it is to fall into a silo. So these are another benefit of this training. Really gives to those learners to have that opportunity to collaborate within different disciplines. And then those lecturers then have to complete those activities, both for sharing their experiences in those synchronous sessions, as well as presenting prepared work that they need to do. So as we've seen in the research and we've seen in our own experiences, especially after ERTL, professional development is no longer that nice need to have. I mean, even Horizon Report refers to about professional development for educators is now deemed as essential. It's no longer that nice to have. So I'm going to hand over to Anne, who's going to share her experiences attending DTX, as well as sharing some of her lecturers' feedback and reactions following attending DTX. And Anne, if you just ask me, I can move the slides across.
Thanks, Nikki. True. So I'm just going to continue where Nikki's left off, because I think she's kind of touched on that idea of professional development. And I'm an academic developer at Nelson Mandela University. And part of our role is literally to enhance the teaching or academic project at Nelson Mandela Uni. And the pandemic hit, and well, we were not prepared for the process of taking our academics online. We were basically all in over our heads. And the idea to assist academics to navigate the online space when many of our already small academic development team were not yet comfortable navigating the academic or online academic space already, we really did feel like we were swimming upstream. So there was definitely a need to capacitate ourselves as well as our academics. And the DTX program was actually selected in collaboration, hi Mike, with our learning experience design team to build institutional capacity, because their team's also quite small, and trying to do everything for everyone all at once became really overwhelming. So because they were also supporting us at that stage. So we looked towards the DTX program to build institutional capacity with regards to digital learning and teaching. So part of the process was to say, yes, fine, it's going to augment our academic induction program. And we encouraged academic developers to attend at the same time, because I think there are literally 5 of us at the time for the entire Nelson Mandela Uni. We did underestimate the program, sorry, Nikki. So we decided to kind of incorporate some of the substantive teaching and learning theories into our own program, in addition to looking at the institutional culture and generally what would normally go into an academic induction. So when I attended the DTX program myself, we were pleasantly surprised to see that the program itself was also underpinned by substantive theory with regards to going online and teaching and learning theories and how it can actually connect with the digital space. So it wasn't to just go do this. It was guided. It was completely aligned to what we would have done if we had the knowledge and the skill to do it ourselves at the time. And we were actually engaged. The experience was incredibly personalized, and we were actually swimming for once. And we were feeling like we could actually engage in a space where everything was manageable. Even though we were dealing with a lot of new knowledge, it's quite a jam-packed program. If you do it, don't try to do anything else at the time. I completely underestimated what we would be doing. But the elements and knowledges in the program were communicated in such a way that it actually built confidence instead of breaking us down. We were able to say, okay, we're already doing some of this intuitively. So we were looking at saying, okay, we're doing it, great. Now let's see how we can deliberately start planning it into our process and translate that in our online space. So even the assignment that we did for the academic development side is we actually built our asynchronous courses that we wanted our academics to engage with as part of the program, and then use the feedback from our facilitators and assessors to actually then improve the program before we launched it with our newly appointed academics for their asynchronous side of the academic induction program. You can go to the next slide, Nikki. So having looked at how I experienced the course, being a complete OCD type A personality that likes to do everything, I went to speak to the academics to find out if this is something that they felt would be useful taking forward. And some of the feedback that we got said that exactly what I said. It built their confidence, especially with regards to universal design, which was a topic that I didn't even think of including in our engagements about the online space, because we were just trying to do the basics of just getting online. And they mentioned that once again, it was an aspect that was daunting, but they realized that they were already doing some of it. And then through the guidance of the facilitator, they were going, okay, how can I deliberately apply this in my practice? And because it was underpinned by theory, they were able to dig deeper. And the fact that it could then continue the process going forward. And I think the biggest learning experience for our academics was what it means to be in the online space. Many of them changed their practice. Look, now that they've actually experienced it, especially with regards to time management and prioritizing your own learning over attending a meeting or taking a phone call or fetching the kids at school. You know, they start realizing what it's like to juggle life and doing the online learning thing. And they were thinking about how they struggled with the tools that Nikki introduced us to and having to do the tasks. And they seem like short little tasks. It can take half an hour. No, you've got to learn how to use the tool. You've got to apply it. It can take anything from an hour to 8 hours, depending on how you're going to approach it. So they started realizing how they should time the activities that they give students and not even assume that one activity is only going to be 15 minutes. And also realizing that this is one module. There would be probably 6 to 9 other modules students might be doing. So they started thinking about how to not overteach or over-assess through the process. And I think the most exciting aspect was that many of them felt so empowered after actually doing this, that they were able to forego the learning experience design team's online, developing an online course program, where they said, okay, we don't need to do that. We feel empowered enough having attended DTX to forego that opportunity. And through doing that, they were actually able to give us more capacity to work with academics who have not yet attended the program. So yeah, I think that is the gist of it. And we kind of hope to continue this process going forward because it did add immense value to our academics, especially in the digital space. And post-pandemic, I think it's going to make hybrid teaching and learning so much easier because it's built so much capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anne and Nikki. There's just a minute left.
You can pop your questions into the chat. How does that sound?
There's a question from Janet. She's asking if the teaching staff managed to complete all the tasks along with their other commitments. Maybe we can just answer that one quickly before we hand over to the next presenter.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I've facilitated, I think, more than half of the group. Most of the lecturers do. We have probably, if say the group's 10, I have 8 out of 10 that complete everything. And those that are maybe a little bit behind, they just prioritize certain activities over others.
Agreed. I think from what I've just tracking some of the submissions, so some did take longer than others, but you are capable to do it. I mean, I was able to still juggle some work in between, but you weren't overloaded with activities, and the assignment is enough time unless you leave it to the very last minute, like some people I know.
Like all the students.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to you both. Such an interesting presentation, and we will be looking out more. I think for me, the statement that really stood out for me was from Anne, that she felt like she was swimming and not thinking like the rest of us. So thank you so much. I'll hand over to Dolph for the next presentation.